Tonight, for the next 90 minutes, we are going to be talking to a true superstar, one of the world's most famous, most popular, most entertaining, most discussed public figures. He's a comedian, an actor, and now an activist too. You may have seen him with millions of others on YouTube, teaching Jeremy Paxman about the importance of revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, he needs no introduction. So without any further ado from me, I give you Russell Edward Brand.
All right, mate.
All right. Here's your sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your pretend front room.
Thank you very much for coming into my pretend front room. Don't get too comfortable.
Like, how could I ever?
We're good.
Under these conditions.
See all these people who've come to see you tonight.
I'm very flattered.
I'm just going to get straight into it, because time is short. We want to get through lots of questions and given the audience as well. Russell, ooh. It's very, are we going to do yoga? In 2007,
yes,
The Observer did a profile on you, and they asked the question at the end of the piece, what will become of Russell Brand? 6 years later, millions of people have watched you on YouTube, railing against inequality, elites, calling for revolution. You've become a political pundit, a political activist, a magazine guest editor, a revolutionary in waiting. How did that happen to a young stand-up from Grays, Essex?
I don't know.
You do. There was a plan.
Well, I mean, obviously the attributes applied to me from the outside, whether they're flattering or derogatory, I can't take like credit or blame for. But I remember when I read that, it's the exact words were, because that was in the days when I used to read them things in the paper, because I was what is called much more solipsistic then, much more narcissistic, much more self-regarding. So if someone had written something about me, I had to read it. And I remember them saying that even after reading this book, which is quite an achievement, one wonders what will happen to Russell Brand. I remember thinking, oh, it gave me an eerie, haunted house feeling. Because I've had this feeling my whole life that something dodgy is going to happen, something bad's going to happen to me. Yeah, and a lot of them things did happen, actually. Like getting nicked and getting into like scrapes and trouble and sacked. Remember that when that happened? Remember when I nearly broke the BBC that time? Like, things like do keep happening to me. Like, so, you know, how this happened, mate, is I just carried on being the person that I was. I've not really changed that much from when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Some would say that's a hugely detrimental thing, but, you know,
but we've seen this
not
whole new
JD
side
Salinger.
We've seen this whole new side to you, a political side to you. I just want to check, so you are a lefty. We could call you a lefty?
I don't think so, because I don't agree with those parameters, mate. What I'm saying is that stuff is kind of illusory and is designed to trap you within a paradigm within which we don't have very much power. But like in traditional terms, because I've got mates who know much more about stuff like politics than I do, like my mate John there, he's got a degree and he studied the old communism, and he says in its traditional form, before it went a bit genocidal, it was just meant to be sharing. Then it got spoilt. It's only meant to be a bit of sharing. Come on, you give him a bit. No fucking chance. Them were the good old days.
The good old days. But reading...
So lefty as opposed to righty, I don't agree to, like, you know, like...
You don't agree, no one agrees to everything, but you guest edited the New Statesman. You didn't guest edit the Spectator or the Daily Mail or the Telegraph.
I've not had that offer yet. I'm sure Paul Dacre will be on the phone any minute.
No, not to either of us. I read your New Statesman piece, the essay you wrote in the New Statesman.
It was pretty long.
It was very long, but it was interesting. You talk about...
That's a bit heavy, that light. I'm sorry.
Please.
I'm sorry you've ever done lighting here. You've done a great job. But what it is it's one of those situations where the technical requirements are overwhelming the reality. And that's actually what I'm talking about, where systems are put in place that forget that we're human beings. Oh, let's light that person. He won't need to make eye contact with the other members of his species. This is what has happened to us.
Do you often tamper with people's front rooms?
Well, mate, what I try and do is react authentically to the moment.
And we enjoy it.
And try to not be, like, sort of conditioned to the point that I forget that I'm an autonomous human being with the capacity for spontaneity.
You're an individual. And on the subject of individualism, you had a line in your New Statesman piece. You said conservatism appeals to our selfishness and fear, our desire and self-interest. There's a lot of conservatives who say It's so unfair. The left think we're just evil. We think the left's misguided. They think we're evil. It's so unfair. Do you think people who are right-wing, who are conservative, are not nice people?
I don't agree with them kind of labels because I think it's very prohibitive and will prevent us advancing. So I would never condemn anyone as being not a nice person. But like that brilliant Russian writer who spent most of his days in the old gulag as a consequence of this kind of belief system said, he was called Solzhenitsyn. He said, the line between good and evil runs not between cultures, religions or creeds, but through every human heart. So I recognise in myself the capacity for selfishness, for lustfulness, for egotism, and because I recognise these qualities in myself, I would prefer a culture that didn't celebrate, exacerbate, stimulate the most negative aspects of our species, inculcate them, reward them financially, till we get to a kind of a cultural hysteria where we're destroying the planet. So it's not like I feel like Tories are evil, I feel it is an evil system, and that system shouldn't be advanced, and if it continues to be advanced, we won't have a little planet.
But you're not willing to say the people pushing the system are evil?
Mate, I think that's a very simplistic thing to, like, you know, look, I don't want to get too cosmic about it, but we are just this sort of temporary blob of atoms, you know, endowed with consciousness for the merest moments in infinite space. The idea of evil is somewhat rote and trite, and I don't really sort of agree with stuff like that. What I'm saying is, you know, if we focus our reality on the lower aspects of ourselves, mate, I mean, like, look, you can be selfish, I can be selfish, but we don't want a culture that is selfish, that rewards selfishness, otherwise...
Which is the culture we have now.
I think so, mate. Yeah. It seems like it, yeah.
I've got to ask you about the Paxman interview. It's kind of transformed the last few weeks. You called him darling, and he called you a very trivial person. When the cameras stopped rolling, was there a moment of awkwardness, or did you just give each other a big man hug?
I happen to think he's all right, old Paxman, because remember, I've only ever seen him coating off politicians my whole life, so I've always seen him as like, I like him, he's having a go at Michael Howard or whoever it is that's mugging you off this week, so I've always liked Paxman. But when he said it's trivial, I thought that was a little bit of a dig. I didn't like that much, but I thought he's got to do his job and he's probably trying to goad me. And in a way, Mehdi, I reckon it was a good thing because it got me all riled up and stirred me up a little bit.
You remembered you'd watched Who Do You Think You Are and reminded him of his past.
Always, sometimes you'll get a little bit of, you'll go, yes, that thing, I've got that thing, thank you, Lord. And then bam.
Bam. One of the reactions to your Newsnight interview and your essay and your guest edit in the New Statesman, because you called for a total revolution of the social and economic and political system.
Yes!
A total revolution.
I still agree with it.
Yeah.
Like Tom Petty, I won't back down. Unlike Tom Petty, I'm not petty.
This is not a Martin McGuinness interview, I can assure you. The Peep Show star, Robert Webb, wrote a letter, open letter, to you.
Him.
Yeah, he likes you. He wrote
An open letter.
An open letter. Everyone can read it. It wasn't
Dear Russell, why don't you just write me a normal letter? You don't know where I live, I suppose. Got to talk to Russell, and also could you pick up some milk? It's like Peep Show. Oh, no. Chance.
Are you a fan of Peep Show?
I do, I think it's brilliant, yeah.
So he's like you, very, very articulate, very intelligent, comedian, actor, well-known, articulate. He wrote you a letter in which he pointed out, he said to you that you should read some effing Orwell, and he said, the revolutions that you're calling for tend to always lead to, quote, death camps, gulags, repression, and murder. Is that what you're calling for?
Well, I'd have said that if that's what I'd wanted. I'd have gone, Jeremy, what we need is gulags and death camps. And then he'd go, oh, you trivial man. No death camps, no death camps. I'm really, just for the record, in case anyone else in Peep Show's worried, I'm not into the old death camps. In case the geezer that's playing Super Hands thinks I'm a Nazi. No, I'm double against genocide or the exploitation of humanity.
But when you call for a revolution, people die.
Well, you don't have to, mate. You've got to kill people first. When I talk about revolution, I'm talking about revolution of consciousness. I'm talking about building upon the shoulders of great men, and I'm not suggesting that I'm anything like these men. That's for you lot to suggest after the interview. Gandhi and Dr. King. You know, they're people, non-violent civil protest, absolute total disobedience. Total disobedience is what I'm talking about. Just like, we're not doing it. We're not doing it no more. Not paying no taxes, not going to work. But I'm not saying let's go and smash people's stuff up or certainly not kill people. You'll notice there was a distinction between those two. There was a gradation at the end. Definitely no killing. Definitely no killing. I'm against that. I'm a vegetarian. I believe we're all equal. I ain't got the right to kill. I don't kill, say a fly comes in my house, I'd tolerate that little arsehole. Because I feel like he's a fly, he's just on his journey here through life. So, I've got to extend that to William Hague and Cameron, them other lot, haven't I?
We'll come to the other lot in a second. Robert, in his open letter to you, He also spoke about, quote, the unfathomable privilege of being born in 21st century liberal democratic Britain.
Maybe for him, mate.
Well, he says nobody's going to come and kick down the door in the middle of the night and take us and our children away to be tortured. He says you're being ungrateful.
Not for Robert Webb. No one's going to take his kids away. But you try, like, I think they do, Nick. Like, well, I've heard some examples. This is where there's probably people in this room who know better than me, like there is on everything I say. I don't claim to be a politician. I didn't have an education like Robert Webb had. You know, if you're coming at me straight out of Oxbridge as opposed to straight out of Compton, then maybe like, yeah, maybe life ain't so bad. If you went to Oxbridge, if you went to a private school, no one is coming for your kids. But, you know, there's people from Leicester in Guantanamo Bay. How's people from Leicester in Guantanamo Bay? Do you mean, I don't reckon they went, hello, could we take you to Guantanamo Bay now? Oh, no, it's super hands. Is there milk in the fridge? No, they're not coming for you if you're from Oxbridge. But, you know, be careful who you believe in, what you believe in, because then they might come for you. Then they might take your children.
OK. Paxman.
That's my open letter to Robert. I hope it don't go to the other one, David Mitchell, who I really like.
Coming back.
Hey, Russell.
So, coming back to, this is going to be hard. Coming back to Paxman.
Oh,
He was very keen to get you on the fact that you didn't vote. He wanted to nail you on that.
What's the point?
He wanted to nail you on that. And he said, and your argument...
Hey, if you're going to nail me to things, baby, start with a crucifix. Now, that was a joke. Just because I heard the word nail. Can't start taking life seriously. Go on.
Go on then.
Sorry, mate.
Tacit act of... You say that voting is a tacit act of compliance.
Yeah.
In a system that doesn't represent the majority.
Exactly.
And unlike Paxman, I can see where you're coming from. I didn't vote in 2005 because I was deeply disillusioned by the Iraq War, and both candidates in my constituency supporters of the war, I didn't vote. So I understand where you're coming from. But in every occasion, can you really say, that, nicely done, now I can't drink any bloody water?
Only if you think I've got some labial disorder, Mehdi.
Do
you want to see the results?
We'll talk about that afterwards.
Give him some penicillin first.
In every occasion, are you saying not to vote? On every occasion. At the next election, if you're a disabled person who's worried about losing your benefits being cut by this coalition, wouldn't you want to vote against the coalition government to get rid of it and get a government in?
I'm saying if you're a disabled person, demand that you are properly represented. Like, because then no one's doing anything. No one's doing anything. Who's standing up and saying, like, yeah, that's got to stop? I'm saying we deserve better representation. Not every 4 years.
But they're not all the same, though, Russell.
They're not all the same, but who gives a shit? Because they're not different enough. They're not doing enough. I ain't prepared to turn up and vote like an obedient little prisoner just so, like, oh, they went a little bit left, they went a little bit right, do the okey cokey. It's not good enough. We deserve better. We are creatures on a planet. We are mammals. Look at the faces of the people that we're being asked to vote for as leaders. Look at them. Look at them, feel it in your hearts. That ain't who's meant to be leading us. That ain't what David Cameron, them other mugs. It ain't meant to be them. There's been a mistake. They're meant to do the admin. They're meant to do the admin. Let them do that shit. Don't let them come up with the ideas because they're selfish. They've only known privilege. They don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like to suffer. I'm not saying they're bad people.
If there was a candidate, if there was a guy running for Prime Minister or for party leader
who
didn't only know privilege, who was from a background like yourself,
right.
Would you be willing to vote for him?
What's he going to do?
He's going to do some things that you want, but not everything you want.
Fuck him.
But you can't.
Fuck him, line him up.
So basically, Robert Webb will be upset with that. Listen, so what you're saying is unless someone comes along who advocates exactly what you're advocating,
not exactly what I advocate, but look, let me, if you like, because in the end you get a little bit specific, don't you? Now, obviously, I've made it quite clear from my physical appearance, accent and ludicrous conduct, hence too far, that I am not a politician. However, I know people that are double clever. Check this shit. You know, like that thing what's called quantitative easing? Well, do you know what that was? They took $1 trillion out of the American system, like American normal bods money, then they give that $1 trillion to them bankers who had fucked up because them big 5 banks were too big to fail. That $1 trillion would have created 1 million jobs at 50 grand a year. I think don't do that. If this geezer, who's a lot like me, puts that policy forward, he gets my vote.
Just on...
Smug drink.
Just on...
Smug drink.
I'm with you on the taxes. So on taxes...
tax them.
OK.
I'm not even talking about normal rich people.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Well, on normal rich people.
Those guys, they're doing a bloody good job.
Yeah. On the normal rich people. On the normal rich people.
Yeah.
Do you pay all your taxes?
Yeah, you got to, mate, because that's bad otherwise. I don't trust 1 second what they do to it. I mean, I'm not too happy that I'm paying for our governments to plod around the world bombing brown people. But you got to, because some of it does go to the, because you are brown, do you know what I mean? Like, so like, but some of it, by default, must go to the NHS. When my mum got cancer 3 times, NHS saved her life. I was born in an NHS hospital, I went to state schools. So yeah, I pay my taxes. But like, I do feel a little bit like I'm getting, like, sort of like I've been lifed off into a system that don't represent me when they go around there creating more terrorists with drones, winding people up all around the world, when I feel like I've got more in common with the people they're bombing than the people we're bombing them for. Well, that's what I feel. I feel like them people's closer to me than the people that claim to represent me.
Because you get a lot of shtick for this, especially since you came out and did your thing. Unlike Philip Green, you don't have an army of accountants who are trying to find legal ways of avoiding tax.
It's just, what's the fucking point? I do all right. I've got a good job.
You do. The other thing that got people's backs up after your Paxman interview was you said Cameron's wrong. Profit is a dirty word.
Yeah, I think so. Especially it's got out. Look, Look, I'll tell you another thing, right? I was poor. Now, when I was growing up, I thought I wanted to be rich and famous. So, like, it's a bit like, I'm not saying I'm all right, Jack, pull the ladder up, but I'm saying I lived in a place called Grays. That place, whoever named it had a fucking sense of humour, because it is great, right? It's in the suburbs of Essex. When I grew up there in that humdrum town, like a Morrissey lyric, I thought it would be good to be rich and famous. It would be good to be the opposite of this. It would be good to have stuff. It'd be good to have money. It'd be good to be invited to the party. Well, I've been invited. I've been in. We're having this chat in a private Swish members club in East London. It's super cool. There's bare brick walls. Everyone's double good looking. But I've been inside now. I've seen the other side of the looking glass. It ain't fucking worth it. It's not good. It don't feed your soul. I still feel empty inside. Because I tell you why. Because the things that you're being offered can't feel what we're looking for. Because we're like, do you know what? Whilst the Tories would tell you, oh, like, you're a selfish person, look after yourself, there's no such thing as society, what I say is that we're basically all right human beings. Whenever there's a disaster or an accident, people's impulse is to help one another. Why not cultivate these impulses? And I'm so sorry if that sounds like naive or sixth form, but I'm saying, like, well, listen, what are the basic facts? We are on a planet. As far as we know, in infinite space. There are limited resources on the planet. There are a certain number of people on the planet. We need systems that get the resources to the people while respecting the planet. Any system that's detrimental to the planet or detrimental to the people because it helps 1 or 2 bods, fuck it off. We're allowed to do that, you know. This thing that's happening now, capitalism, it's held in place by lies, police force, and military. It's not like a sort of a thing that just happened like, you know, like monkeys picking fleas off each other. It's not a natural behaviour. It's inculcated, it's indoctrinated, and it's held together with fear.
It may be indoctrinated, but people vote for it.
Well, they shouldn't. That's my point.
I know, but...
Stop it. Stop voting.
That's your... And on the profit line, what do you say to people who say, what about your profits?
I remember when I was poor and I complained about shit. They said, oh, it's because you're bitter. Now I've got a few quid and I complain about shit. I'm a hypocrite. Really what they want is no one saying anything. That's what they want. If you're poor, they say you're bitter. If you're rich, they'll say you're a hypocrite. Because they don't give a fuck. They don't want this conversation. They don't want us talking about this. People in power, privileged positions. So like they want you to be talking about Justin Bieber. They want you to be talking about twerking. They don't want you talking about fracking. They want you talking about twerking. They want to get on with their job. Shut your fucking mouths and watch this shit, you fucking morons. And I know because I've been part of the charade. But you know, I'm awake now.
When were you part of the charade?
Hosted fucking MTV Awards, and I. Yeah. And that Big Brother programme, which was quite good. And I believe Big Brother. And I believe the phrase Big Brother was coined by George Orwell. I've read a few of his books. Didn't even go at Oxbridge. Read it in Gray's library.
While you...
Close them down. Close the libraries down as long as Philip Green's all right.
I want to play a word association game with you.
Okay.
Break it up
That was the first one.
There you go, Philip Green. Okay, I'm going to say some names of people. You say whatever comes into your head. First word, first sentence, first 2.
Sure.
All right. Simple one. Start. We'll go through it. Tony Blair.
Well, I think he tricked us a little bit, didn't he? Made us go to that war we shouldn't have had.
David Cameron.
Same as Tony Blair. Do you know they all go to the same parties? I've got a mate who was at a party the other night at some rich person's house. Them Tony Blair, David Cameron, they're all at the same party. They're at the same party. So at work, it's like, I'm this party, I'm that party. Night time, we're at the same fucking party.
Brilliant answer, but it works better if we go through it quicker.
You don't set the rules.
I'm seizing the right from you. Nelson Mandela.
Oh, he's nice, isn't he? Really, yeah, he went for it. But let's remember, he used to be a terrorist. And what was, like, did he change? When he was a terrorist, was he going, I'm doing some terrorism now? And then when he became the loveliest, cuddliest man in the world, that wasn't terrorism. Who was telling us it was terrorism? I love Nelson Mandela. Of course, he's one of the few people alive now that give their lives for the people.
Ed Miliband. George W.
We could do better. We deserve better. I think he's really kind, and he sounds like his dad was wicked. If the Daily Mail hate him, he's all right by me.
George W. Bush.
Fuck 'em, man. Like, I mean, like sort of like hegemonies and like sort of like that other one's son. Actually, on a personal level, at least he was sort of quite funny. Like I've not got a very good memory for hatred. So after a while, when I see a picture of him now, because he's like a little bit monkey-like, I think, oh, he was all right, him. I've forgotten all them wars and everything.
You got into a lot of trouble because you called him retarded at the time.
I did call him at them MTV Awards. It's good that like people were saying because it was before Barack Obama got in. Like people say, like, are worried about America, that they will never vote for a black president. But in our country, we're very impressed that you've got, I think you're very progressive. You've had that retarded cowboy fella in government for 8 years. In our country, we wouldn't give him a pair of fucking scissors. And I thought, if you say that in England, that's funny. In America, we had to have fucking police around the house the next day because people was coming to kill me. For that.
Nick Clegg.
He blagged it, didn't he, with the students? He turned round. I bet all of them, they're children of God, and in them they have a beautiful essence. But they shouldn't be doing that job.
Boris Johnson, your old friend.
Well, look, again, when he used to be on that Have I Got News For You, wicked. I loved him on that. He was so funny. I love his hair like a little baby bird. Brilliant stuff. Don't let him run a fucking city just because he looks nice. But then the fact is, these people just, when I'm saying administrate, they are already administrators. I'm saying they should administrate for us instead of big business and elite interests. All they're doing at the moment is administrating for big business. Administrate for us, you fuckers. We're the ones you're asking to vote for us. That's why I won't vote.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh, yeah. You can't argue with him, can you? The great father, Mahatma Gandhi. Why I like him, he was serious, about the whole non-violence. And it's very hard to do the non-violence. Why non-violence is genius is because it's a paradigm breaker. Anyone who's been to a protest knows that once you're violent, you're nicked. If you're disobedient without being violent, they can't nick you. It's a paradigm breaker. Also, very disciplined man, and he said, the only thing he hated more than violence was cowardice. So he was, prepared to get the shit kicked out of him whenever required, and you can't argue with that.
Margaret Thatcher.
I think she broke down a lot of our most treasured institutions and drove a knife through the socialist heart of this country, ripped up the north of Britain, made kids grow up thinking it was right to be selfish. So everyone sold off their council houses or bought their council houses. It just was a terrible, terrible thing. But the thing that's difficult, my mate G here, he's like a poet, and they asked him to write a poem about Maggie Thatcher to take round schools, lefty people, do some poems about Thatcher and cut her off. So but then he started watching videos of her on YouTube, and the thing is, she's charismatic. So if you watch her on YouTube, she's all right, huh? When she's on this one thing where she's on kids' TV in Norway, and they go, oh, we have the thing where we ask all our guests to jump up and down. And she went, absolutely not. I just wouldn't dream it. Oh, please, it's for the children. No! But that's the spirit that will make you bomb a retreating battleship and not even think twice.
Talking of bombing, Bashar al-Assad.
Oh, yeah, you got me now, mate. Because I don't know who that is.
President of Syria.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, really. He seems a little bit slippery. I'm not into his whistles. He looks a bit, I don't know. I'm at the moment where I don't know very much, I think non-interventionism. And it seems like no one else knows much either. When I see them videos coming out of Syria, it's terrible business going on. I think, I don't know, try and help, concentrate on refugees and humanitarian crisis. Try not to get dug into the causing more wars or arming folks.
Barack Obama.
Oh, it's a shame, really, because I felt pumped for a while, and I think, better to have a black president than a white one. I think it would take it the right direction, but what does it matter? Because I'll tell you why. Because, as I said, they're administrators. They're meaningless. All these people that you're naming are what Plato, forgive me, would call the shadows on the wall. These people are just administrators. They're irrelevant. The people with true power, we don't get to name them because them people, they don't believe in the shit we believe in. They don't believe in stuff like nation. They're not turning up for royal weddings and World Cups, the stuff that we kind of like because we've bought into it. They're just give us the fucking money. Those people that are front and centre, they're meaningless, interchangeable. You know, you remember from your own life. Didn't make no difference, did it, who was in charge? It's not that different in America now. I prefer him to Bush just to look at, but what is the fucking difference?
Jeremy Paxman.
I like him. I think he's like, I like him because I like seeing him drilling them others.
Edward Snowden.
Wicked, well done. You know, because like, you know, for what defines a hero other than willingness to sacrifice yourself for others? If you're prepared, and we all do it for those that we love most, and like them people, Private Manning, Edward Snowden, like they fucking put themselves in stir for the rest of their lives because they believed in something. You can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. We can't trust them, that NSA bullshit. We'll have our own cute little British version of spying going on, won't we? We won't be no better. But I think people that stand up to that and prepared to put themselves inside for it, they're heroes.
Prince George.
I don't know who that is. Oh, it's like the baby. Well, he ain't done much wrong yet, has he? I didn't like it when he had that little dress on.
What is your view of the royal family? How does that fit into your critique of the system? Are you
This
Republican?
is one of them ones where I get well conflicted, Mehdi, because like, it's like the Olympics. I don't agree with public spectacles that are designed to keep us passive little consumer citizens, but then when we win medals, I sort of think, well done! And I get into it. And I don't like the royal family. I don't like hierarchical structures that inform us on a regular basis, deep in our psyche, that we're just peasants and we need some nominal figure between us and God inside. You know, but like, you know, really, don't have a royal family. It's stupid if it's costing any money. We should be able, if we own them, we should be able to do what we want with them. Move them about like puppets and carry them around. Make them turn up places and put on costumes. Under those circumstances, you can stay.
They kind of do a bit of that.
Oh, that's true, actually. No, they're a great bunch.
Would you run for president of the UK?
No, because I wouldn't want to exist inside this political system because I think it's inherently corrupting and I think it's just administration. I don't agree with that system of leadership. I think it should be interchangeable and well regulated so we don't have cult of personality and cult of leadership. Then people in those, it shouldn't be regarded as power, it should be regarded as service. Like the old Bill, you should be able to go, oi, I need a lift home. They go, oh, yes, okay. should be like that. And politicians should recognise that they're officials that work for us, They don't have power over us.
You keep mentioning God, you're a believer.
Yeah, that's the thing that'll be complicated because I know like, the thing is with a lot of people that are like our natural tribal allies of the left are clever folks that are well into the atheism. For me, look, God is not something that's about thinking you're better than someone or a reason to have a war with someone. It's that within us, beneath and beyond our identity as human beings, driven by fear and desire, defined by the realm of the senses and the material self, which is transitory, there is a divine self that is connected to all living things, that is part of an infinite source of creativity. You could probably describe that using quantum physics or science if you want. I choose to believe in God because I think what that is the recognition that there is divine beauty in all of us. And if we prioritise that over our own selfish material needs, then we will naturally create a culture more in harmony with our planet and we'll have a chance.
How much of your political beliefs come from your spiritual beliefs? You kind of people talk about New Age philosophy and you subscribing to all sorts of different things.
All come from spiritualism. Because what is socialism other than, we're all just here together, just share, what's the point? I got carried away for a minute, I thought that my haircut was more important than other people's, you know, like living space. But like I recognise, it's through spiritual practice that I've recognised that my own impermanence, my own irrelevance, the fact that I'm just a person shuffling through life, I ain't really no different now from when I was a little kid. And all I want really is that I don't want that feeling in my stomach that people are being treated badly. I don't want a feeling that people are being exploited. I can't live with it. And that's a sort of a spiritual idea. I don't myself, I know you're a Muslim, I don't go in for them particular, I like those different books guiding you through different ways of believing. I love the old Hinduism, for example. I think the Sikhs have got loads of good gear. I think they're all saying the same thing. Be nice. Be nice. It don't have to get all convoluted and complicated. It doesn't have to be a source for, you know.
What do you think about, do you follow the writings and views of people like Richard Dawkins, who says religion is evil?
I think, you know him, like you're English, you lot. You remember in Bagpuss, Professor Yaffle, like every week they bring a new thing into that shop and Professor Yaffle rubbishes it. Oh, that's nothing, that's not a boat, it's just an old shoe. Like, I think but Richard Dawkins is like that. He just wants to dismiss and diminish and take the magic and mysticism. Anything that we're describing through science, we're describing through the prism of the 5 limited senses. Our eyes can only see between infrared light and ultraviolet light. There's light bouncing around everywhere. Our ears can only hear a tiny decibel range, can't hear the noise of a dog whistle, can't hear any high-pitched frequency sounds. Isn't it likely then that there are other vibrations, frequencies, energies, consciousness moving through the universe? Like Einstein himself said, when asked if he was religious, well, I believe there are forces in this universe that I will never understand, and I hold these forces in great reverence, and to that degree, I am religious. Now, you could take that as being an atheistic statement, but for me, that's like an acceptance that as human beings, we are mere temporary custodians of this beautiful planet, and we should behave accordingly, with regard and with love. It ain't complicated.
Why do you think so many people... Why do you think so many people don't take the planetary crisis seriously? There's a lot of climate change deniers around. Lots of people going out there saying, it's all a myth, it's an exaggeration, it's a left-wing plot, the planet's fine, there's no warming.
Because if we start taking that seriously, the planet, it bonds us all together as one, and it means that elites cannot advance, and it affects their economic interests. It's an economic issue. They need to be able to continue doing their jobs, which are about the exploitation of the planet's resources. And if all of us start thinking in terms of, hold on a minute, we're all just on this little bloody planet. What happened? Like that mad Carl Sagan thing, or that astronaut geezer. I can't remember which one. He was like not one of the ones you'd remember. He was about 7th to the moon. By then, everyone's like, "Oh right, we can go to the moon now. Fuck it, who cares?" Hey, I'm in the moon. Yeah, seen it. Like, but he said, he goes, when you see the Earth from space, you think, oh my God, everything that's ever happened there. Everything, every war, Adolf Hitler, Jesus, everything, all the people you've ever loved, all the people you've ever lost, all the times you felt embarrassed in your little tummy, all the time you felt, oh no, she doesn't love me and I love her. All those little feelings on that planet, Shakespeare, Milton, all on that planet there. He said, when you look down at that beautiful planet and realise, oh my God, in spite of what we think, we are literally connected. We're literally made of the same things. Carbon-based life forms breathe in the air in harmony with the planet. He says, you look at that thing, it makes you want to grab a fucking politician by the throat, drag them up to space, and they go, look, you fucking idiots. But like, well, could you sustain the anger for that journey? Actually, I've come to quite like you since we've been floating in the pod. Right, I'm going to get myself worked up again. Tell me some of your beliefs. Well, I think I should have all of... Right, you fucking... There's that... Get out of this spaceship! I wish we bought a monkey.
You've talked about different types of exploitation. One thing I'm interested in is you have been quite involved in the Israel-Palestine conflict.
What? Hold on, have I?
Not fighting it, not calling for gulags.
I started that.
Not calling, but you have been a supporter of the Palestinian cause. When the Gaza was being bombed, I believe you put your name to some statements. How did you get involved in that?
My thing is this, like, if there's a situation where there's conflict, the people what have got the power, the onus lies with the more powerful people. That's my feeling. And that could be in an argument. Say you're having an argument with like your kid or something. You think, oh, you can't go, you little bastard. You know what I mean? You've got to accept that if you've got the power, you have the responsibility. I think that's out of Spider-Man. So like, you know, so like my involvement in it is like been fundraising for refugees, but like, you know, I don't, it's not like I wouldn't put myself in a position of going, like, it's a very complex conflict that has lasted for millennia. And that's why I've preferred to focus on humanitarian and spiritual ideas that are absolutely unifying. And like, because the sort of very concept of revenge will just drag this shit out forever, won't it?
All right, well, coming back home, one of the big stories in recent weeks has been press regulation. What do we do about the media? Steve Coogan, Hugh Grant, fellow actors, have been leading the charge to get better regulation, to have better control on the press, backed by law. There's a talk of a royal charter to bring back the royal family. Do you think the press is out of control? Should it be regulated better in the UK?
Well, they're irrelevant, aren't they, now, I think, really? I think people are giving up trust in them. I sometimes look at it because it's like, oh, it's in my house or whatever, and it's good when The Guardian done that stuff with NSA, but pfft, who cares about that? I'm like, for me, this level of power here, Cameron, Miliband, all those folks, this level of media here, like, oh, talking about this, press intrusion, privacy, I just think, who cares? I'm interested in making sure the people that are being exploited, that are incredibly poor, get resources and the planet ain't destroyed. So, yeah, good, regulate things that have got too much money, regulate things that have got too much power, but for me, I don't think of it as like my row. When they say all that stuff about me, I just ignore it now.
And on the drugs front, you became prominent last year. You turned up at Parliament. There's a roll of power.
Can we have some more water? A lady just bought it. Oh no, you can do it. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thanks, Mehdi.
Don't put that in your mouth, you perv. Put it in your mouth.
No, mate,
come all this way.
I'll pour yours first. I drink a lot of water because I'm an alcoholic. So, like, for me,
is it not because you talk a lot?
Probably that also. It doesn't help, does it?
I talk a lot, so we both drink some water and
You're
carry on.
Brilliant,
carry on. You're very kind.
I see you on that thing, that YouTube thing, standing up for Islam, day after Woolwich. I think you're really cool.
You're very kind.
I admire you very much.
You're very kind.
I love
you! we all love each other. We all love each other. Look, on drug laws.
Like that Fast Show sketch, Ted, where he just loves Ted. I never can tell Mehdi how much I love him because, you know, he's married and that. So difficult.
Although my wife did wonder why you used the word sexy in your description of me for the event.
Did she? Well, she's the last person who should be wondering. You want to look at your marriage. Mrs. Hussain, you have my deepest sympathy.
Returning to the subject, drug laws. You turned up at Parliament. The guy from Grays, Essex. You turned up at Parliament to tell MPs your views on drug laws, about abstinence.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did you become an authority on drugs that people want to listen to, apart from having used it?
Yeah, well, that's how I became an authority, actually, through becoming a drug addict. And like, that's
you became a campaigner, is my point. You didn't just leave it there and move on with your life.
Well, the reason I did that is because, look, this is what I've recognised. I'm famous now, so if I talk about bullshit stuff, it will be in the papers. If I talk about important stuff, it won't be in the papers as much unless I word it clever. But then it will get in there. So now, I'm a drug addict, and my life was saved as a result of the compassion, kindness, and tolerance of other people. That's why I've got to be compassionate, kind, and tolerant to others, because I was people that could have really easily wrote me off. Instead, decided to love me and give me another chance. So if I get asked to go and speak for some select committee, I know this thing. I'm not got no judgment on people that use drugs recreationally, and it's a good job, because otherwise about half our fucking audience will walk out. I'm sure there's not one of them who's not high as a kite. But there's certain people, like me, about 10% of the population, have what I think is an illness, or at least a condition, where you can't take drugs or drink safely. So those people shouldn't. I believe those people should remain abstinent one day at a time. Now, there are ways of doing that. There are abstinence-based sort of societies where we can help one another.
But you're not a fan of the whole criminalisation of everything?
That's ridiculous. What's the point? If people aren't well, I mean, there's no point making people criminals because they're not very well. If you've ever met a drug addict or been around them, you'll know two things. One, they're fucking annoying. And two, they're not doing it for pleasure. They're doing it because they cannot cope with the pain of being alive. They can't cope with it anymore. The upset, the hurt, the loneliness, the emptiness. And drugs and alcohol is not the problem for these people. Reality is the problem for these people. Drugs and alcohol is the solution to that problem, because you simply can't cope. That's what it was for me.
And when you look at someone like David Cameron, who's quite tough on drugs, he doesn't want to soften the war on drugs, and yet there's all sorts of questions. He refuses to answer questions about his own past. He's gone out of his way to kind of say, I'm not going to talk about my own past. Does that bother you when you see politicians kind of cracking down on drugs? Well,
not really, because as I said, I write them lot off. They're just, for me, these people are, they're nothing to us. They are just shadows on the wall. They are a zoetrope. They are an illusion. Ignore them. Ignore them. They will go. We don't need to involve ourselves in their paradigm. Create a new paradigm that makes their one opposite currently.
Russell, they have power, as you admit. If you ignore them, they don't go away. They carry on passing laws.
I'll tell you something important. No, the reason that we're not... Guess why we don't go around on horse and carriage no more? Because someone invented a car. If you create a better system, the old one will become obsolete. The old one will become obsolete. Let's not focus our energy on the people that are faffing around in the old system that enhances their privilege, inculcates their systems, their ideas, and incubates them in their privilege. Fuck it off. Now, focus on new ideas. It's not going to come from them. They've had plenty of time to come up with something. They haven't. I think swerve them, and David Cameron, I don't expect nothing from them. I don't expect nothing. Well, they've never given us anything up till now, except state schools and all that stuff, everything begrudgingly. I don't expect them to come up with compassionate drug laws. I expect them to regard them as criminals because it's another minority that you can criminalise and blame for society's failings. Plus now you get more and more privatised prisons that you can fill up with poor people that haven't got any better opportunities, like they do in America. 80% of people in Nick acquisitive crime because of their drug habits. And if you've got private prisons, you need prisoners to put in there to run them companies.
What's a better place to live in, America or Britain?
I don't know. Actually,
in political terms, do you think? Where do you feel
I don't really look. I'm English, so I can't judge it. I love this place. I love this country. I love the people in this country. So this is me, this is me.
And one last couple of questions before I go to the audience who've been waiting patiently to come in. I spoke to a lot of women as I was preparing for this interview. And they basically seemed to... The people I spoke to...
sexist, it turns out.
Well, that's what I wanted to split it into two camps. Half the women I spoke to said, I asked them, what should I ask Russell Brand? They said, are you single? And if not, what are you looking for in a woman? That was one half. And the other half said, would he admit that he's a bit of a sexist, misogynistic? He sees women only in sexual terms.
I don't. Right. I wouldn't.
Do you want to deal with both of those questions?
Yeah, I will. I'm in a relationship at the moment. And I don't think I don't think I'm sexist, but you probably can't, like how I can't, like you're a Muslim man living in Britain, so if I start telling you, hey, it's great here, there's no problems for the Muslims, you might go, what do you fucking know? You're white, you're relatively privileged in that. So I thought about it for a little bit, and I thought what it might be like, because I don't think I am sexist. I don't think I am. But now I remember my grandmother. Now my grandmother, she was the loveliest person I've ever known. She was racist. I don't think she knew though. You know, I don't think she knew. I didn't think she knew that she was being a racist. I think it was just like, oh, well, they're not, like, if like black person and white person get together, oh, they're not one thing or the other, are they, Russ? No, Nan, no! Nan, you lunatic! I think, I don't know if I have some cultural hangover. I certainly don't want to be a sexist. I certainly don't want to judge anybody on the basis of stuff that they can't help or stuff that they can help, to be honest. I don't think it's my position to judge. I know that I have a great love of proletariat linguistics, so I do go around using words like darling, bird, but equally mate and bloke, you know, so, but, like, if women think I'm sexist, then they're in a better position to judge than I am, so I'd have to go, oh, all right, I'm sorry, I'll work on that.
A very, very candid answer. I'm going to throw it open to the crowd now. We're going to take questions. I'm going to take them one at a time. Stick your hands up. I can...
Take them two at a time.
No.
Like I did when I was out there being sexist. Yeah, fuck the police, man. I haven't learned a thing.
Because I'm a comedian, I can do that.
You can.
Nothing's real. Who picks the questioners?
I'm going to pick them. You can pick them. You pick
them. You
them.
pick
No,
them.
you
You're in
pick
charge.
them.
Otherwise, it's like I'm too much for you.
Go.
You talked a lot about the spiritual influences.
Do you want to wait for a mic? We've got a microphone coming around so everyone can hear you.
Yeah, cheers. Well, thanks, Russell and
Right,
Mehdi. You talked a lot about the spiritual, influences in your life. I know you talked a lot about transcendental meditation, and you preach really well about it, and I can see how it influences your view on stuff. But I'm interested, what I haven't heard much recently in the interviews and the article and that, is how, if at all, it's affected your personal choices and like your lifestyle choices and things like that. You mentioned then just about women and stuff like that. I'm interested to know whether that's had a knock-on effect personally for you.
Spiritual practices, thanks for that question. Spiritual practices, as anyone that has a spiritual life of any kind will tell you, it obviously influences, it has a huge impact because it diminishes the aspect of your life that's materialistic. For me, what meditation's about is recognising that my individualism, my fear, my desire, what I want, what I'm afraid of, those things are normally temporary and impulsive things. And like through meditation and to a degree prayer, I connect with a different narrative, a different frequency, could say, of consciousness. I think that's incredibly valuable because then you're more likely to start valuing ideas that are not about the aggrandizement, self-aggrandization and that. Now, look, I'm a human being, so I make mistakes every single day. Like, straight after I said quite a nice point about sexism, I made a sexist joke. Like, we ain't perfect, so we're going to need systems that encourage the part of us that is beautiful and dissuade the part of us that is naturally, because we're basically little monkeys, from carrying on like little monkeys. Now, spiritual practice is an integral part of that. I get an extra half beat before I lose my temper. There's a little moment before I think, oh, no, don't do that, you're going to regret that. I get an extra half a beat before I say something like, oh, no, you'll probably collapse the BBC. I get little moments now where I realise that what I want and what I'm afraid of is nothing.
This is you after half a beat? That's impressive.
Yeah, man, you should have seen me. I was an idiot.
Can we take another question? Lady here in the second row. Do you want to wait 1 second for the mic so everyone can hear you at the back?
And then we have to ask people at the back as well, otherwise
we've
got our own elitist system here, Mehdi. We'll be guilty of the very thing.
I want to go to the guys behind the pillar, but yeah.
Hi. Russell, I've asked you this question before, but you misheard me, and you were on stage, and I asked about spiritual development. You thought I said sexual tips or something similar.
That's weird.
And then
next question.
You gyrated around the stage for about 5 minutes and said, "All right," and I was like, "Not really."
They were quite good sexy tips. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was on stage in front of lots of witnesses. It's all legit.
And your mum was sitting next to me as well, and I felt really embarrassed. So
what do you want to know, mate?
The question is, there's a lot of interest in you and your teachings, or what you've been saying.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what we're calling them now. Write that down.
Teachings. A lot of the fans want to hear more about your spiritual side, and almost we're sort of thinking you should do some writing on it or start teaching it at seminars. What do you think to that?
I think that's very flattering that you would say that, and I think that, like, as the great Krishnamurti said, not the geezer off the news, Krishnamurti was a philosopher in the old days, he goes, he goes, truth is a pathless land. All of us have our own individual journey, our own individual relationship with truth. Now, like, so we're like, what's great about spirituality is we've all got our own right. Like, Mehdi is a Muslim. I don't know how you're downloading your recognition of the futility of your own individual existence and the interconnectivity of all consciousness and our oneness. But like me, I go through transcendental meditation. I like a lot of iconography and language from Vedic literature as well. And yeah, of course, that'd be something I'd be well into talking about. But you've got to be careful because, like, I bet there's even people in this room now going, "Oh, he's being so preachy. Who does he fucking think he is, or whatever?" You know, and like so. But you know, if you've asked me, and that's what I'm interested in going that direction, mate. I think that's the answer for all of us.
Okay, let's take a question from the back. Someone right at the back.
Why are you such a bastard?
Someone's
Who's
got
the
to ask a
furthest
negative
person
question
back with their hand
eventually.
up? Whoever it is, who I can't see, whoever's got their hand up furthest at the back can have the mic next.
Oh, it's good this is like 8 Mile. I wonder who'll come in. We can still chat while that's happening. This is dead air, Mehdi. You don't allow that shit. So
There's no dead air when you're on. You keep going.
not allowed.
You keep going.
I liked it when you done that thing. My favourite bit when you was doing that debate on YouTube.
I have the
and
microphone.
All right, you. Good actually, because we were nearly talking about Mehdi, and I was getting fucking bored.
You can tell me about your favourite bit later.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
of course.
Sorry, go on.
In terms of your like humanitarian views, and you believe in that underprivileged people on the other side of the world should be able to have resources that we have in terms of distributive justice. Cosmopolitans and schools of thought like that think that suprastate institutions, so outside of just the UK, US, are the way to achieve that. Do you agree, or how do you think it would be best?
What kind of institution, just to be a bit more specific? Are you referring to some specific institution?
I don't know, sort of things like the EU, etc., but bigger, larger.
Ooh, like some big globalised New World Order. Oh,
Yeah.
they'll love that. Well, I think given that many of our problems are global, it would be good if we had a global agenda and global system. My view comes primarily from a visit that I made to Kibera, the slums near Nairobi, where I witnessed this sort of devastating poverty in the dumps that are around that city, like endless waste, and people living within that ecology, animals living within that ecology. Then, because of the nature of my life, especially then, like all famous nonsense, I found myself at a fashion show in Paris, and it was like a couple of weeks later, and I'd just come back from that Nairobi, and like there's kids there that would forage for bottle tops. I guess they could recycle them or something and get some money out of it. I mean, it was just the most horrendous thing, the stench, the smell. My mate Nick goes, he had to revise his vision of hell to incorporate what he'd seen there. So when I was in that fashion show just a couple of weeks, like for a little while after, whenever I see a bottle top and threw stuff in the bin, I thought, oh God, that rubbish dump. But then I became inured to that memory. I forgot, because we all know there's suffering all over the world, everywhere, but because people aren't promoting those ideas except in a very particular way, within a very particular charitable philanthropic paradigm, which is presented as sort of insoluble, we don't think about it. But world poverty could be resolved by $40 billion of investment. Oh my God, that's not that much, not compared to the $50 trillion in the hands of American millionaires, not when you consider that the 7 heirs of Walmart have as much money as 140 million Americans combined. These problems need to be, we're not talking about national redistribution of wealth, we're talking about international, global redistribution of wealth and resources. So yeah, that a necessary component of that would be sort of some sort of global institution. You're quite right, mate, but Jesus Christ, I don't know how to set that up. It sounds double complex. I struggled for an hour before I put this fucking jacket on.
Okay, should we take another question? Somewhere in the middle? Lady here next to the camera. Fourth row back. Do you want to wait for the mics coming down the line to you?
Oh, right, so the bit I like, Mehdi, was like when someone tried to butt in on you and you went, I don't remember you taking questions. I thought, oh, this geezer's
One, two.
Oh. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's so cute. It's like Spinal Tap.
So, okay, I've been following you for a while, although it sounds scary, I know. But anyway, it is.
So you're just making the phone calls.
It's just about when you talk about the stuff that you do. You never mention class system here.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm not within. I'm a bloody foreigner, so I don't actually fall into any of the categories. But I've been living in England for about 9 years, and I can kind of feel the class system, and I think is that something that you think we should start? Well, you should all start changing, and me as a as a newbie British citizen should start changing. Is that way to go? Because I managed to get my son into a really good Church of England school, and my daughter is going on to nursery in a
about the class system because a lot of people waiting to ask questions.
Sorry, I'll wrap it up.
It's a very good question. Class system.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the class system of kids' schools. What is this system?
Well, that is where it all starts.
Lunatic.
Come on.
Get the mic.
No. Class system. Kind of class system. Do you talk about class?
I'm British, so of course you can't avoid class if you're from this country, but I don't think it's helpful for us to focus on the things that divide us, but rather our similarities, the things that bring us together. Now, class has been a divisive instrument for a very long time. I think this, that like what there is there's power and there's not power. And how I think our eminent hegemony has succeeded for a long time is by turning us against one another. Like, you know, when you get movements like the EDL double worried about immigrants and Muslims and stuff, like there's no problem because of immigrants and Muslims. Like, you know, like, check this, here comes a statistic. Benefits, right, signing on, costs $5 billion a year. Tax avoidance costs $25 billion a year. Who's the problem then? Who's the reason there's a poor white working class? Is it because of people signing on? Is it because of immigrants? Or is it because there's a super rich elite taking all the money? That's a rhetorical question. The answer is the super rich elite. So, like, I don't think we should focus on...
Do you see yourself as part of the super rich elite?
I don't. I'm well off. Of course I am. And, like, you know, under the utopian system that I'm describing, I would get less money, definitely. That's why you should trust me. I've got nothing to gain from this thing. But, like, I'm not the problem. I'm not trying to stripe up people that have got a couple of cars and are doing all right for themselves. I'm saying for super rich corporate elites that are siphoning off into tax havens, billions of dollars, pounds, who cares? It's all bullshit. But, like, you know, like, and not contributing to this society. I've given you the example of Philip Green. If that was like, you know, say me, I don't mind that stuff they got in Topshop. Some of that vintage stuff is all right. But that bloke's, you know, 1.2 billion quid he ain't paid in tax. So wouldn't it be a good thing to not get stuff out of Topshop? It'd be hard because you'd forget. I'd probably forget. I say stuff like this sometimes and think, oh shit, I'm in Topshop. You know, because it's hard to avoid the system. Look at me. I've got, like, you know, I've got sexy trainers on and all that stuff. We're
just to be fair to Philip Green, he would say, I'm paying the taxes that required him. I'm not breaking any laws.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly the problem, because the system is set up to benefit people like Philip Green. You know, like the system is set up for him to avoid taxes in a cosy way. You know, like, it's all right. We need that to not be possible. Not be possible. Take the money off him. 1.2 billion is for his missus in Monaco. We'll have that, mate.
I don't know if it was 1.2 billion, but it was a lot of money.
I don't know, but we're having it anyway. I don't understand numbers. I think we should be allowed to go in. Yeah, this is what I think. Like, support movements like Anonymous, Occupy, who do incredible work at UK Uncut. I think, I would support Occupy, occupying top shops, going there just loafing about, being a total pain in the arse. I love them Occupy people. They're cool. They did something practical, and for a while it worked till the media goes, oh, they're crusties, they're hippies. Fuck, they're not scared of crusties and hippies. They're scared of the message. That's why he's a hypocrite millionaire. So don't worry about what he said, because the planet isn't being destroyed because of hypocrite millionaire. Well, is the planet being destroyed or isn't it? Yes, but that doesn't change the hypocrite millionaire thing. Who gives a fuck about hypocrite millionaire? No problem. I'll be dead in 50 years max. You have my guarantee. So, like, you know, what we want to focus on is things that matter. Don't let them distract you with personality and all that bullshit. Get on with what's proper. Occupy Topshop.
Okay. Lady there in the corner waving at me.
You bloody flirt. And then you goes,
hello.
I don't remember you.
You talked about Philip Green. You're in a privileged position where you get invited to a lot of parties, things like that.
Yeah.
You went to a party that he threw to launch a Topshop earlier this year. I wondered if you questioned him about his tax then, and if not, do you plan to?
Yeah. What, you like the hostility?
I believe the word boom comes at the end of that.
Well, yeah, I did go to I've been to loads of them parties. Where is the person that said that thing?
Wave your hand, it's right there.
All right, mate. Yeah, I have been to a lot of them things. I'm not saying that I'm talking from outside the system. I ain't floating around in some bubble of enlightenment. I ain't saying I'm different from you or better than you or nothing. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying I'm the same as you. That I'm subject to failings and flaws. I've done terrible things in my life. I'm scum. I'm a scumbag, dirty drug addict. I've done nasty, nasty things in my life. Nasty things that I'm ashamed of and I've got to live with. And pretty high up on that list is going to fucking parties by Philip Green. And like, yeah, I don't know what Philip fucking Green looks like, but I tell you what, mate, if I ever got to one of them pies again, I will ask him, because I woke up, I've been asleep, like all of us, I've been asleep. Because I've been distracted. It's nice to get a load of money. It's nice to get a load of attention. It's nice if you're a fat little kid growing up in Essex who thinks you're worthless, suddenly everyone's telling you you're great. It's going to turn your head and fill you up, puff you up. But do you know what you notice in the end? Oh, fuck, it's bullshit. I've been conned. I've been conned.
Do you feel you're on a mission?
Yeah.
Which has started recently.
Well, I was always on. Like, my mates that are here that I've known for a long while, like, they used to, like, worry about me. When we used to go protest and stuff, stop the war, whatever, they used to have to stop me because, I was so excited that I used to get arrested too quickly. It wouldn't make any difference. When we're coming out of the house, yeah, fuck them. That's our window. Whoa. All property is theft.
All right, let's take on that note, let's take another question. Let's take a question right at the back there. Lady with hand up right at the back.
I've come tonight from Grays in Essex.
Oh, God.
It's followed me.
He's worried. I was wondering how you feel about the fact that McDonald's has been turned into a betting shop.
I thought that was bad. Now, I never thought that I'd be sorry to see the back of that filthy, stinking, grinning paedophile clown, Ronald McDonald. The Jimmy Savile of corporate logos. But how do you go down from if you start at McDonald's, how do you go down? I was back in Grays like a week ago. One of my mates works in mines. You know them?
You. We met. We met.
Is this going to get embarrassing? Yeah, well, all right, so you know I was in mine, but everyone else don't fuck the narrative, right? Also, this makes me look good because I'm in a charity shop. So I'm in this charity shop, I'm kind. So I'm in this Minds charity shop that my mate works at, opening it. And like Grays is where I'm from, and let me tell you, it weren't that nice when I grew up there. Now it has deteriorated further. I think, what's happening to this place? What's happening to these people? Where is the money going? More importantly, where is the optimism going? Now that McDonald's, yeah, that's where everyone used to meet outside that McDonald's, and now it is a betting shop. And I see that place and drunks staggering around and kids just happy to catch a glimpse of me, people waiting around in Grays, low expectations, low vibrations. And like them people, those, and I say us actually, we, when we're growing up there, we're taught that, oh, the reason this problem is because of like, there's immigrants, and there's gays, and there's the intellectual elites. There's nothing to do with that. That's nothing to do with it. And I'll tell you why, you got rid of those three problems, it will make no difference to the economic reality of most of the underclass of this country. What would make a difference is focusing on the super rich. Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted by it, is what I'm saying. So yeah, that is the one time in my life where I'm sorry to see the back of a McDonald's.
Okay, let's take the lady here in the second row. Let's take the guy behind the chandelier next.
As a single parent from Basildon in Essex,
you will swear your door
another crap hole.
I bet fucking has never had a crowd like it. As a drug dealer from Croydon. Hello, I'm a prostitute from Wolverhampton. These people aren't buying any fucking drinks, and there's blood all over the toilets. Put ultraviolet light in that fucking book.
Do you remember what you wanted to say after that? Go on.
I recently have recently had to start paying bedroom tax. I've got two daughters, a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old, who fight like cat and dog. What is your view on bedroom tax?
Oh, it's disgusting, mate. I don't even properly understand it, but if it's like people without enough money are getting ripped off more money when there's people who've got loads of money that aren't paying any, how can that be fair? Why are people's lives being made worse? Why are we being told it's the only way? We've all got to tighten our belt strings, pull up our shoes.
Here's a question.
Go on, mate.
Of the two political parties at the next major political next election, one of them is promising to get rid of the bedroom tax. Should she not vote for that party to try and get rid of the bedroom tax?
No, don't. Expect more. Expect better. Sorry. Don't let them lower your horizons. Don't let them lower your expectations. You are worth more. You are a beautiful child of God. Thanks for the fucking letting me off the bedroom tax. Get the fucking money of the super rich corporations, give her a proper fucking house until one of them parties starts offering proper options.
Russell, that's not on offer in 2015.
It will happen. Who do you think they represent? They represent us. If we stop tolerating this shit, then it ends. And because of like you, mate, who are meant to be a proper fucking lefty, going, but if we vote Labour, could we have a couple of scraps? Fuck 'em. You better have had a university education, because you're making this audience look like scum, the people you've chose so far.
I've got a master's
well
degree.
done. Good work.
You speak of changing the human psyche, and there's an issue with the super rich and the elite. Do you think a major world event such as a mass drought through overpopulation, because as you know, like there's 9 billion people. There's going to be 9 billion people on the planet by 2050. Do you think a major event such as a global drought would change that? Because where I'm seeing it, there's very few people like yourself who are speaking out, but the system is so large that and people are living comfortably. Like
yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that
we're a bit anaesthetised, aren't we, by our trinkets and our comforts, kept all doped up? I can't remember. It's probably Rumi or someone goes like, pity the poor trapped in their poverty, the rich spellbound by luxury. We're all in a way getting shafted now. Having been both, I prefer the latter. But what I'm saying, mate, is that in a way we should be very, very optimistic for a number of reasons. Here's some of them. Capitalism has provided the organs of a functioning body. We have media now. We have the ability to communicate information. We do have, when they're not shutting them or turning them into flats, hospitals. We have all the infrastructure. The infrastructure is in place. What's needed is an ideological shift. You're quite right that some sort of global cataclysm would create a change in consciousness, but maybe we shouldn't wait for that. Maybe we should start addressing some of these ecological issues. And the other thing that I will say, when people feel sort of despondent and that it's too much to change, no. This is just a bunch of individual changes. All right, like this can either sound really deep or it's basically from Rocky IV. I'm in charge of my consciousness, you're in charge of your consciousness, each and every single one of us is in charge of our own consciousness. If I can change and you can change, maybe the whole goddamn world can change. So if we're all prepared to change, then that's it. That's all it takes. It's not like, look at the domestic armies, the police force, the propaganda required to keep this system in place. Look at the trouble of one comedian going on Paxman and saying it's all bullshit. I don't get this attention for most of the stuff I go on telly for. It's not. I'd like to think it's me. I'd like to think it's me because I'm vain. I'm an entertainer. It's the message. People know it. I didn't say stuff that people didn't know. Everyone just heard it and went, yeah, that fucking hell, shit, I forgot about that. You know what I mean? And loads of people are working and loads of people, it's their lives. But me mentioning it, it was convenient that I was able to do that in that little moment because we know it could be different. Of course it could be different. There are different systems all over the world. Germany's got a better fucking manufacturing industry because it regulates industry a bit more tightly. Latin America's got countless examples of it. Like Switzerland and Portugal treat junkies better. There's all sorts of better systems, but what you've got to take money out of politics and you've got to be active. You've got to get ready for some civil disobedience. But the good news is you will feel better than ever before in your life because we will be connected.
Are you going to join in the civil disobedience?
Yeah, I'm there, man. I miss it.
All right, let's try and squeeze in a couple more because I promised that guy in the cap behind, right there at the back, is
what
behind
time
that
is it?
chandelier.
'Cause I'm tired.
Don't worry, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go in 5 minutes. We'll let two more
questions.
questions.
This is like school.
Go at the back in the cap. You're loving it, Rosso. You love it.
Except I'm the only one talking, which is what I thought at normal school should have been.
Go on, sir, in the cap. You got my...
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Sorry, Russ.
All right, mate.
You've been rabbiting on that long, I forgot what I was going to ask. No, basically, I understand what you're saying about not paying tax and that with Richard Green, whatever his name was, that gives me a top shop. Right, but I have a different view to you. I agree with a lot of what you say. I think the world we live in's fucked. I totally agree with you, totally. It's a shit world. And it ain't the country we brought up in. You know what I mean? When we was both kids and that, it was a lovely place.
We're running out of time, so can you get to your point? Because we want to experience
my point is, do you not think they don't pay the tax because they have the same belief as you? They don't want to put the money into a system that squanders it on shit.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Because I don't pay my tax for that reason.
That's fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Get a camera on that guy!
Listen, I don't agree with the stuff around the world.
No, you're right, you're right.
And it's for that reason.
That's fair enough. That's a fair perspective. Like I said when I was saying, you've got to pay your tax. I've got to pay my tax. You don't have to. You do what you got to do, mate. No, I don't think that's the argument. We're not talking about people who are a little bit affluent. We're talking about super rich corporations avoiding legally paying tax because they can, and what that money could be doing at a time when there's hospital closures, there's massive poverty, where normal working class communities like the one that I'm from are suffering and being eroded, that money could be redirected. I think you've got a legit point, mate. And really, more broadly, they are a product of an every man for himself system, a capitalist system that's about individualism rather than collectivism and community. Community.
Let's make one more question before we finish. Gentleman here with his hand up.
Why do you keep picking people so far away, mate?
I'm trying to be fair.
It's all people over here.
All right.
You sexist pig.
All right, Russell. You keep your answer shorter and we'll get one more person in. How's that for a deal?
Terrible.
You, right. And then we'll go to the lady here on the side.
Russell, you've got people talking about politics who, I mean, I'm talking about politics with people who would never want to discuss this sort of thing. You have, whether you like it or not, become a political leader of sorts. Are you here to stay, or are you going to sort of drop some of these ideas and leave us to make our own minds up, or are you going to use that celebrity for the positive and actually turn the dark arts into something good?
I'll try my best, mate.
You
I'll
are,
try my best. I will. I'll try my best. I'll tell you, because I've been both sides now. Like the lady said, I've been in glitzy parties, I've been in movies, I've seen it up close. There's nothing to get excited about. It really ain't. And like, so yeah, I think this now. But I've got to, like, you know, like I'm just a bloke, aren't I? So we can all just be in it together and just contribute our own little bit. But like, yeah, I ain't got nothing better to do in my remaining few months on the planet Earth.
Lady here. Yep.
So you spoke earlier about your frustrations with the criminal justice system and drug addicts in general. Sorry.
Mic check 1 2. So basically, it was on the news last week that some of the European countries are now going to be setting up shooter rooms. Is that something you think we should look at doing in this country? And if so, do you think it will benefit drug addicts in any way?
Yeah, it does, mate. Because, like, you know, like drug addicts take drugs, and you know, like I'd rather like an intravenous drug user was using in sanitary conditions rather than hanging around like in alleyways using. It's just stupid. I visited a place in Vancouver run by a wonderful woman called Liz Evans. I can't remember the name of her organisation, but it's in Vancouver, won't be able to find it. They have shooting galleries there. It's like, you know, everything's kept clean. It keeps people out of trouble. Drug addicts are going to take drugs. We don't get to choose that. I personally don't take drugs because I know it's bad. But all we can do is make the situation worse by criminalising it, creating a criminal economy, creating illness, creating social problems at every single level. That, for me, seems like a very, very silly idea. Facilitate it, treat them like they're ill, and try and get them better. That would be my advice. And, yeah, that's a sensible suggestion, mate.
And one last question from me very quickly. It's a double-headed question very quickly. One, is there one thing you most regret doing that you'd like to forget about in your life? And number two, what's the thing you're most proudest of?
Well, no, I'm very happy in this moment. I love this moment. This is the only thing that's real. I'm happy to be in this place that I've been in before and I felt nervous and like I didn't fit in, or I felt excited, or, you know, like about stuff. I'm happy to be in here and I'm talking about stuff that I actually care about. And I'm with people that understand it. It gives me very, very great hope, and it makes me feel very optimistic about the future. So this moment now, this is the only thing that's real. Everything else is an illusion. We decide in our own reality. We are in control of our own consciousness. This is our planet as much as it's anybody else's. We can do whatever we want. So this is his best moment. I do regret going to that Philip Green party.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have run out of time, but I did promise you a roller coaster ride. I think we got one. Let's put our hands together for Russell Brand.